Hey guys, it is Wise from YSTech here, and today we're going to be doing a $700 build that was requested by Fat Shrek Guy, and here it is. So, unfortunately, I couldn't get to that price level in terms of brand new parts, but if you watch on, I will leave timestamps to where you can get some advice on how you can meet that $700 budget build. Now, let's get straight into the build. So we've got the build here, and overall it costs $858, and I believe this is probably one of the better PCs for the lower end side. Anything below this and you're probably not going to get anything that's going to get you any satisfaction in terms of gaming, and it's just not worth it to build below brand new, at least in terms of this budget. So let's go ahead into the CPU. Now we've got the AMD Ryzen 3 3100, clocked at 3.6 gigahertz. It's a quad-core processor, has 8 threads, I believe, and it's really cheap. And basically, the idea behind going with such a cheap CPU, it's $173 from First Wave. And basically, the idea behind this is that you will be able to game pretty well, at least for now. And if you're not playing too intensive games or doing anything too intensive in terms of media work or anything like that. But you're going to be able to upgrade with this in the future because you're going with Ryzen. So fortunately, the platform you're choosing with the motherboard is Ryzen, AMD Ryzen, and you're going to be able to upgrade that in the future. So if you're finding the CPU is just not cutting it for you, you can upgrade. And you have space to do that because you're buying a B450 motherboard, as I'm going to show you in the next slide. So I think it's a solid CPU for the price, and it's a budget build, so I try to get this as budget as possible. Of course, you can go with stuff like the 3300X and the 3600X, which are only about $100 and $150 more. I say only, but I know that is a lot of money. But in terms of dollar performance, obviously those other ones might give you a little bit better dollar performance compared to this guy, but I mean, if you've really got a tight budget, hey, this is a solid CPU, I think. So let's head over to the motherboard. We've gone with the Asus Prime B450M-A. Now I actually have the B350M-A, and it's a pretty solid motherboard. This comes in at about $138 from First Wave, or $139 from Computer Lounge. Now it's got 4 RAM slots here, so you're going to be able to have 4 sticks in the future. Unfortunately, this build only has 1, but I'm going to get to the reason why I did that in just a second. But it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SATA slots right there, so you're going to be able to plug in quite a bit of SATA drives if you wish to do so. I actually made quite a good utilization of them personally. My friend actually has this exact motherboard, and he's doing pretty well on it. I've had no issues on my B350, and I think the Asus motherboards are quite good. So, I mean, nothing too much to say about it. There's not too much customization, or it doesn't have anything too fancy on the motherboard itself. It's just a basic low mid-range board. Just one piece of advice: do not buy A-type motherboards. Like the A320, I think, or something like that, from AMD. They are horrible boards apparently, and people are experiencing a lot of reliability issues. So definitely go with the B450 or anything like above that. So let's go over to the RAM. Now I actually found this is pretty cheap. It's the G-Skill Value 8GB RAM. It's clocked at 2666 megahertz, and it comes in at $51 from PBTech. It's a black piece of RAM, so it's not green, and it's a budget, so it's really cheap, I think, especially for 8 gigs. The one below that is a crucial one, and it's got a green PCB, if that even matters to anyone, but that's $41 for 8 gigs and also 2666 megahertz. So I think this one is a bit better value for money. And for Ryzen, usually it does better with dual channel. However, for $51, I think in the future you're going to be able to upgrade this pretty easily, and at this budget I think 8 gigs is plenty. Just again, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that dual channel for Ryzen, so it won't be as quick, your computer. But I mean, if you're really stretching the budget like this, $51 for 8 gigs is pretty good. And if you want to spend another $51 in the future, if you save that up, you're doing pretty well as well. Just keep in mind there are other options that are a little bit better than this, if you can afford it. For example, you can get I know 3200 megahertz RAM kits for about $135 New Zealand, which is 16 GB. So So I think that's about $67 each. So I think that actually works out better because it's faster RAM. So if you can afford $135 around there, or at least on special, they can go down to that price for 3200 megahertz RAM. I think you should definitely go for it, especially as dual channel, and it'll be better in the long run. But hey, if you can only afford this for now, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, and you're going to be able to upgrade in the future. You got plenty of slots there. So let's head over to the storage. So I've actually gone with the SSD. As usual, I don't ever put hard drives in these builds. So it's a bit of a smaller drive. It's a Samsung Evo 250 gig solid state drive. It's $84 from First Wave. Sorry. And yeah, I think it's a solid drive. I actually have the 500 gig version of this, and I've had no problems so far. And also going forward, I'd probably just recommend Samsung drives just based on performance and reliability in my personal experience. So for budget builds, I'd probably, like for any build, to be honest, just for myself in terms of reliability and keeping my data safe, I personally will only buy Samsung drives now. I've probably had the best experience with them so far. And yeah, I mean, it's a solid drive. I personally have it. I have the 500 gig one. I'm doing pretty fine on it. I've only had it for about 2 weeks. But yeah, I think it's a good drive. So let's go over to the graphics card. So yeah, it's the MSI RX 570 8 gig model. So comes in at about $239 from Playtech. So yeah, some of you guys might be thinking, why is he picking the RX 570? Now, I don't think the 1650 is a good card. I personally think that the RX 570 is actually better. And especially for the cost, I mean, it's $242 from Playtech. I know it's like an older card and stuff, but based on what I've seen from friends, they play like games like Overwatch, Rainbow Six, CSGO, League of Legends, Fortnite, and you know, it's pretty easy to run at 1080p medium to low settings. And you know, it's not a AAA title card, but or a AAA 1080p high card, but you know, especially at this price range, I think it's a pretty solid card. And you can upgrade in the future. Hey, that's cool. If you want to sacrifice other parts in this build, yeah. And yeah, I'm gonna give you some advice on how to hit that budget as well, and maybe get a better graphics card than what I've put here. But yeah, I think it'd be a solid option if you would like to go with that. And yeah, let's head over to the case. Now, case is always personal preference, as I say. Just make sure it's going to be able to fit your motherboard. So this is a micro ATX motherboard. So yep, it's going to be able to fit. It's a mid-tower case, which is good. So there's going to be room to move. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at it. It's got a cool side panel. It's got one case fan at the back. It's tempered glass, has a mesh at the front for airflow, and inside, yeah, I mean, solid. It's pretty solid. Doesn't have a power supply shroud or anything like that. And yeah, I mean, you can get cable extensions if you want to make them look good, but you will have a spaghetti power supply because it's just cheap like that. You can get cable extensions later if you'd like. I'll make a video in the future if you guys would like to see what cable extensions are. So yeah, that's $69 from First Wave or $99 from PC Force. Now, like, it's just a case, so personal preference, I think, and it looks pretty solid from what it is. So let's go over the power supply. So I've chosen the Cooler Master MWE Bronze V2 for 550 watt, 80 plus bronze certified. So it comes in at $99 from PBTech. And yeah, I think it's a pretty cool power supply. It's not modular, it's a spaghetti power supply. So you're gonna have all those spaghetti cables coming out of your power supply, but you can solve that, make it look good with cable extensions in the future. But it is a budget build, so this is what I had to go with. And yeah, I mean, that's the end of the build, and it comes to about $858 in total. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good system. And yeah, let's give you guys the advice now. So okay, my first bit of advice is buy secondhand. Parts that generally can be bought secondhand, which are okay, is like stuff like the CPU, as long as it's not overclocked, RAM, as it's generally not abused, Graphics card, as long as it's not been overclocked, been mined off, or is showing signs of dying, such as artifacting, or any lines on the screen that is indicative of the card is failing or anything like that. And the case. I mean, hey, the case you guys can get that for pretty cheap in some places. And yeah, so I would avoid secondhand parts such as the motherboard, power supply, and SSD, as these parts are generally more prone to wear and tear and issues like that in my experience. That's just my personal rule of thumb. I have graphics cards is a bit of an iffy place. I mean, you can buy them. I personally have bought secondhand graphics cards, and they're doing. I have one that's doing fine. I've only ever purchased one secondhand graphics card, and yeah, as long as it's not showing any signs of dying, I think it should be pretty good. But just things like motherboard and power supply, I generally don't buy secondhand. I just, for peace of mind, I'd like to buy my own, and SSD as well, just because I don't know how much the other person has used it, or if it's going to fail or anything like that. Because that's my data. I don't want it to go very easily. So where can you buy secondhand parts? I mean, in New Zealand, you can use Facebook Marketplace. There is one called All Goods. I actually did a post on them, and then there's Trade Me. Unfortunately, All Goods is an alternative to Trade Me, but unfortunately, they just don't have many people on their service right now. So probably Trade Me is your best bet right now, and on Trade Me you can actually snag some pretty good deals. And I've just done a search here for AMD Ryzen. I can't see any deals right now. They're all pretty rubbish. Also, just a warning: stay away from these computers generally. Something like this Fortnite ready, it's very a good warning sign that this computer is probably not going to be that great. No offense to the person that built it. I'm not trying to berate you or anything. I'll make your PC look worse than it is, but you know, stuff like this is generally probably not as good as you think. I'm just actually gonna double check what it is. Okay. So what does it have? So it has what even is that? Is that inbuilt graphics? Okay. Yeah, I've just clicked on this build, and yeah, no, this is not a good build. It's $719. My one is $150 extra, and it is far better than this computer. And I've probably seen better computers for this price on Trade Me secondhand. Stay away from this. Usually, a big giveaway of a bad computer is Fortnite ready. They're just trying to bait you into give you a rubbish system. It's got 4 gigs of DDR4. It's got a Ryzen 3 3200G, which isn't too bad, and it's got integrated graphics from what my understanding. So yeah, don't fall for bait like this as well. Sorry, that's an add-on to the video. All right, so to my second piece of advice: use Pricespy. Pricespy is actually really good in New Zealand. What it is basically you're able to stalk the prices of components, and you're able to see when they drop in price. And now this is a Samsung 860 EVO is my example, 500 gig. It's actually the one I just bought 2 weeks ago. And how I was able to purchase it at such a low price, well, at least I thought it was a low price, is as you can see here, there's a price chart. So what I did is went here, and there's a price alert button. So you can set a price alert to your email. Just type in your email here, and just type in when the price drops below, for example, maybe $150, it will give you an email notification as when it's on special, or when it's just dropped in price. So I get these emails all the time, and when I saw it was $104, bam, I pulled the trigger and got this guy. $104 was so cheap. And you can actually see it in the price chart. I think it's here. Let's load up the price chart here. So as you can see, this drive in 2018 was $278. It's dropped in price quite a bit. And so let's see over here. So $104, I purchased it. And as you can see now, it's rose back up to $119. So yeah, that's how you can get some deals on good parts. And this is what I do. I just stock the parts I want, and when it's time to buy them, I buy them. That's how you save a bit of money. So also there's things like other websites. As my third piece of advice is using stuff like Amazon. If you go on Amazon, you can actually find some pretty good price things, even if they're not on special. Just a little bit lower price than America sometimes. And this is the 860 EVO 500 gig again But just remember is that there are tax, so they apply tax on overseas imports, all of them now, so 15%, and then the currency exchange as well. So whatever that is exchange rate it is for that day, and then there's also shipping fees. So sometimes it actually ends up being a bit more than it is in New Zealand. So if it is, just buy it here, and if it's not, hey, go for it. It might be a good part, but just remember you're gonna have a little bit of difficulty on warranty and returns if anything does go wrong. So the alternative to using Pricespy or Amazon as well, I guess, is Choice Cheapies. I love Cheapies. It's one of the best sites in New Zealand, I think. And basically, everyone just shoves a bunch of specials that they receive, and you're going to be able to get notified about it with their daily newsletter. Or I personally just log on. I just hop onto Cheapies every day to see what's popping off here and what's on special. So I actually found a post from a year ago, I think, and it was an A60 Evo 500 gig for $89 at PBTech. That is insane. And yeah, I think you can find deals like this all the time, and if someone else finds it, then they're probably going to pop it up on Cheapies. So I think it's a good site to check out at least once in a while. So yeah, my fifth piece of advice is this is a good PC. It's $850. However, it might be better to start saving and working up to a higher budget, as you may be able to purchase higher tier parts that may in fact work better in the long run in terms of usability and the amount of satisfaction you get. Now, the meaning of satisfaction you get is, I mean, like, alright, if you weigh it up, let's say you have to spend $100 extra. I know that's a lot of money, but in 2 years from now, that $100 might not seem as much in comparison to the satisfaction you gained by using the higher tier, for example, graphics card. Maybe you spent the $100 extra and you went from an RX 570, to an RX 580, for example, and you get a 20% performance gain. Now that 20% performance gain is going to be noticeable, and you are going to notice that, and your satisfaction levels will be changed depending on which card you buy. So in some instances, it would be better to just save up and get something a little bit better. As again, it is a good build. It definitely is. It's the cheapest you can get in terms of usability and the price point we're at. That's like very, very cheap. But if you're willing to spend a little bit more and save up, I know it's very, very difficult to, you might actually be able to get something more worth it for your time and your money. So sometimes that initial cost of being higher, it is a deterrent, but sometimes it might actually be worth it in just terms of raw performance. And yeah, I mean, that's my little bit of a 2 cents right there. And let's go on to the sixth piece of advice. Watching my videos. Alright, so I've got this one from April. It's called The Best Gaming PC Build New Zealand. April plus some advice. This one will probably be overtaking it in terms of budget things, but basically all the advices stay the same. I pretty much stand with almost all of this advice I've given here. Go have a read of it or watch the video. I think it's a pretty good video for especially New Zealanders trying to buy stuff in New Zealand. I know there's some parts that have popped up recently, so I do need to update this for September again. And but most of it stands true, and yeah, I mean, it's still a solid piece of work that I did, I think. And yeah, so that leads me on to my seventh piece of advice. So I've made a video called "How much FPS will this PC get?" And basically, it's just a video on telling you how to get how much FPS will your computers get, because I actually leave it out of these builds, but every time someone would say that, I'd just respond with, oh, blah, 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 I can get this much FPS, but I've got sick of that, so I've combined all of that advice into one video, so you guys can watch it here. And yeah, I think that leads me on to the last piece of advice, is my eighth piece of advice. As I said earlier, I'm repeating this again. Just be patient, wait for sales, and practice good financial decisions by saving up for a better PC. In the long run, I think you are going to be happier with spending that $100 extra that you spent today, even though you spent $100 extra today and you might not be too happy about it and your bank account won't be happy about it, in 3 years down the line, you might be like, hey, thank God I spent the $100 extra, because if I went with the lower tier part, I'd be getting 20% less FPS or satisfaction that I would have got from the higher tier part. So that's another perspective to look at it. But all up, that about sums up my video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you go and check out YSTech.org for the latest post reviews and much more. I'll see you guys there at YSTech.org. But other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Just before the video starts, make sure you go and check out my website, YSTech.org. This is the place where you're going to be finding the latest news and everything great in technology, from reviews to tutorials and much more. So make sure you go check it out in the description, YSTech.org. I'll see you there.